I've done one or two podcasts before with mixed results, but decided to do
Okay.
this as a celebration of reaching 100. And
Yeah.
almost here is the lucky contender that was my. We're just going to be totally put this off the cuff and stream of consciousness. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask us. I think I should go through. Otherwise, we're just going down the rabbit hole to
That's great.
wherever it guides us.
You're just breaking up, but now it's fine again. I don't know if it's just me, but it broke up. But this
Well,
should
I
work
am in a
now.
cave, so it might be a limited signal, but I'm not getting a low signal symbol.
You're in a cave. I have my own
I'm
cave.
actually in a cave. It is a home made out of the earth that I dug into the ground myself and built.
Wow, that's amazing.
I kind of
Uh,
live life by my own rules.
and you have your own farm there, or how do you do that?
I don't yet because I've got so many things going on. I don't really have the time for maintaining animals, but I've got 85 acres, so I've got more than enough space for getting a couple of people here that have more experience in animal husbandry than I do.
Ah, perfect. Yeah, great.
I've got
And
dogs and cats, but they don't qualify as farm animals.
as long as you don't eat them.
Exactly. And I
Perfect.
think they might qualify as farm animals. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
really
Yeah, no, I
want
don't think
to.
so. Perfect. So, what got my interest in you is because you're basically coming from a totally different direction than I am coming, also spiritually. You talk about ascension and all this stuff, but you're basically a shaman, right? You're so yeah.
I was adopted into the Ojibwa tribe at a young age and taught to work with spirits and do dream travel and work with powerful entities and things like that from the Ojibwa tribe when I was in my teens. I've
Wow.
studied the occult arts for pretty much as long as I can read and practiced them for well over 25 years. um,
Wow.
and take kind of a different approach because I take things from kind of a mixture of shamanism and occultism both.
Ah, great. No, it's totally interesting because I have absolutely no idea about shaman culture or Sumerian culture or anything like that. So my spiritual knowledge basically starts and ends with the Vedas, and it started
Mm-hmm.
my own journey back then. But beyond that time, I've really no idea what the spiritual traditions are.
Well, the Vedas are a very interesting tradition in their own right. They have a lot of really interesting things like spaceships and things like that are drawn in their ancient works and things. I mean, I don't know too much about the Vedic scriptures, but I know enough to know that it's definitely interesting, and I can't help but wonder if there's not a correlation between the Vedas and the Babylonian Sumerian Empire because of them both referring to alien species and being seeded by non-human beings, and what there are a lot more similarities, I think, differences at
Yeah,
their core.
for sure, for sure. Well, my own spiritual journey. In hindsight, it's interesting because I always started at the end. So and worked my way back. It's like with everything I do or I did over the years, it was always backside, the other way around, and Yeah, so I started very young with Advaita Vedanta, and Vedanta is the end of the Vedas. So this is the end in the end. It's basically the disappearance of the one who is who yeah, who could you could call it ego, but any sense of self image disappearing in the end. And this is where I started my journey. And this is very interesting because, of course, I had no idea about shadow work or any deeper spiritual knowledge back then. It's just like I started with really a blank slate. The world disappearing, me disappearing, and from that, uh, uh, yeah, everything else came backwards, and it is always is very similar to what happened to me with the gene keys. I work a lot with the gene keys since about 10, 15 years, and they also came through downloads first. I didn't read anything about this knowledge. I didn't even know the name Gene Keys. It's just I got a download over several weeks of this cellular DNA knowledge. And I couldn't, it didn't have any words for that. So it was just an energetic download, and I heard that this is related to our genes, to our DNA. And then I had a look and suddenly found the Gene Keys material from Richard Rudd, which perfectly. He's a poet, you see. He put this old knowledge from the I Ching and brought it to the modern day and correlated it with our DNA and our genes, and it was an immediate recognition of what I had no words for. And it's great to have someone who can give words to this stuff, because otherwise I couldn't talk about it with anyone. So also this came from the other direction. You see, yeah.
That's interesting. They say that Merlin and the wizards, although the name Merlin actually is Midrin, and it actually means a seer, not a wizard. Wizard is a title that just means one who has wisdom. But it was said that he lived his life backwards. And that doesn't mean that
Really?
he was born as an adult and died as an infant. That means that he, much like yourself, went and began his journey with what the outcome he desired to achieve was and worked backwards to achieving it, so that
Well,
he was mindful of the outcome rather than the beginning point and just blindly following things.
that's perfect. I didn't know that. So I'm a
In
modern day Merlin.
many ways, yes, you have had knowledge brought to you in the form of the Merlin.
Yeah, that's a very interesting information. Thank you for that. That's cool. Yeah. So this is about my journey, but of course there's lots more to tell about that, and also the shadow work and my own energenetics work is more or less taking the Chinkies knowledge and combining it with all the energetic work I've done in the past, and making my own method of accessing this knowledge, because for most people it's a mental thing. If they read the books and they try to understand it, and so I with energenetics I try to bring this knowledge both for the left and the right side of the brain, for the energy, for the mind, for the emotions, for everything. So it's more or less my own take of what I've learned, and combine it with this very deep already chinky knowledge, and then bring it out to the world.
Hmm. I've been kind of walking my own path for most of my life. And about maybe 20 years ago, I discovered the Sumerian teachings, and a lot of them were lost for centuries, eons even. Uh, the tomb of Hammurabi was not described and begun excavation until in the mid 19th century.
Oh, okay.
And that's where most of the knowledge came from. Ironically, and probably not coincidentally, that's also right around the time when all of our wars with the Mideast started to happen.
Oh.
That's a random coincidence that they discover ancient knowledge at the same time our military troops start invading. But we're
Yeah.
not here to discuss the military
Yeah.
plans because they're not my master.
No. Yeah, that's very interesting. But how did you read that? I mean, it's an old
There are
language. There is not.
translations that are available. I was fortunate that at the time I was living in Chicago, and the Asian Institute in Chicago has spent over a century compiling and creating the Sumerian Dictionary, which is 21 volumes, and it includes the translations of practically their entire language. And
Right.
it is literally done by like four generations of people, five generations of people that was done over 100 years.
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
fortunate that I happened to be living in Hyde Park at the time they were doing the grand releasing of that entire volume being published, and just stumbled across it literally in a art gallery opening, and just was like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So you sat down and translated it with this dictionary yourself.
The translations I studied the language. I've discovered a lot of books in that time that are translations of the original text with like phonetic pronunciations of the original cuneiform language, as well as the intellectual translation, for lack of a better word, into the English language. Um, I have some books that are very interesting in regards to that. One of which actually goes into the invocations and the rituals for working with the forbidden gods. There are seven gods that are called the seven maskim that are so old and so ancient and so powerful that even the Sumerians were forbid to work with them, and they're considered basically the seven primeval forces of creation. And it's definitely interesting to explore things that go like 2,500 years before Christianity were forbidden.
yeah.
That's
No,
a
it's stunning.
whole different level of down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. So these are more ancient than what we know as demons, or as
Far older than what we know as demons. They are primeval forces of creation and destruction, and they are not demonized, nor are they angelified. They are just considered as being. And from my understanding, they were brought forth out of the abyss to create this world. And because they were brought forth out of nothingness, they were before the split of duality of darkness and light, of the angels and demons, and that whole story.
story. Right. Okay.
The interesting thing is, from my understanding in studying the Goetia and the Nag Hammadi and the lost books of the Bible and the Apocryphon and whatever else, is I believe for the most part Christianity created the construct of demons.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
And
useful construct for them, right?
exactly. You've got to have an adversary. I
Yeah.
mean, the name Satan came from the word shaitan, which is Hebrew for adversary. The
Yeah.
name devil comes from diablo, which is Latin for adversary. The name Lucifer comes from Lightbringer, and that's a different construct because what they did there is they demonized Venus. They demonized the divine feminine because Venus
Yeah.
originally was known as the North Star. She was the brightest star in the sky. Venus was originally in Sumerian teachings the Lightbringer, and they demonized Venus and made her into Lucifer.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love Lucifer. It's one of my Patreons. I work a lot with, but it's difficult to talk about this stuff because like you, I don't see them as what is called demonic forces. They are like energies, like yeah.
Well,
I
from
yeah.
my understanding, the demons represent destruction. And destruction is neither good nor evil because you can destroy an evil
Yeah.
adversary or you can destroy a force of conflict or a force of injustice in this world. And it's still calling on the forces of destruction, but it's not from an evil perspective. It's similar to the Indian ideology of Kali and Shiva, or Kali and
Yeah,
Shakti, or
right.
whatever it is. Kali is the destroyer, but the destroyer is not always evil.
No, absolutely not. And Shiva is more or less has both parts. It's the pure consciousness, and everything disappears and
Exactly.
disappears.
It's
Right.
the unity, not the duality ideology that Christianity loves to create.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that these Christian religions, well, first of all, they're all teaching unity and teaching loving your brother. And there's probably what, 40 different branches of Christianity, probably a
Yeah.
low estimate, probably closer to 100. And they're all following the teachings of Abraham.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, he was Sumerian, he was Babylonian, he
Ah,
wasn't
okay.
a Christian.
Ah, okay, fine. So this is the connection to the basics you got.
Yes, exactly. The extremely interesting thing I find as I studied the Sumerian pantheon more is for each of the archetypes, they have a masculine and a feminine. They have a god and a goddess for everything they primarily worship.
Mm.
And I think that's a large reason why they were demonized and vilified because they gave women and men equal rights. And the patriarchy can't have that.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's deep. And I mean the difference, or more or less to differentiate the light from the dark, and to take one side is already the error. It's if
There is no absolute good. There is no absolute evil. The
that's the
movie
point.
50 Shades of Grey, that's the closest we get, and it's closer to 5 million shades of gray.
Yeah. That's the thing, and in the end, all religion and also most of esotericism and spiritual belief modern
All of
times
it, yeah.
is
It's
is
all
caught in
programming
that.
and pablum. It's all designed to divide.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the thing. So, what will you do
And,
with that?
well, my perspective is the devil or Satan or Lucifer or whatever you want to call it, the adversary, is a necessary force in this world. If we did not have resistance, if we did not have forces working against us, we would never get stronger. If we were stagnant and we stayed stationary and we did nothing and we had nothing to test our will, we would never know what our limits are.
Yeah, this is the one side is very interesting because on the all the spiritual paths you have today are more taking one side over the other, and trying to focus on getting enlightened, or just talk with angels and they're the good thing, and all this stuff. And my own experience, and I also worked with angels in the past, is that
No,
this
we'll
is
go down that rabbit hole in a minute.
yeah. Yeah, it's delusional in a sense, because you get addicted
Yes.
to this image, and it keeps you dependent on them. While the work with demons is the contrary in a way. It's like empowering. It's
Well, the
giving you
demons
back
and
your
the humans were
sovereignty.
both. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
No, no,
The demons and the humans both were cast out of heaven, quote unquote,
yeah,
because of their free will.
yeah,
I have a different perspective on it. I believe they voluntarily left because they didn't want to be slaves to the archons, which gets us to the angels.
yes,
The angels are not love and light beings that are having glowing, beautiful, magnificent auras and look like humans. The ancient texts, there are descriptions of some of the angels, and they are scary as fuck. They are terrifying.
really. That's
Yes.
interesting. Tell me more.
One was described as a wheel with 1,000 eyes. That doesn't sound like something that's love and light and happiness.
Okay, but doesn't it get
The
uglier?
the teachings of the angels and the Enochian magic were largely done by John Dee, who was the, for lack of a better word, astrologer for Queen Elizabeth in the 14th century.
Ah,
And there are theories, and I believe them to be accurate, that he was actually not connecting with the angels, but he was actually connecting with the archons, which is the Greek name for the overlords and the ones who want to enslave humanity. Because as you alluded to a few minutes ago, the angels get addictive. You work with the angels and you want to connect to them. You want to have that power. You want to have that blessing that we're told by working with them. So you get addicted to that power. And in doing so, you give up your own free will and your own power.
yeah,
What better tool for someone that wants to control humanity than to have them voluntarily choose to basically be their slave?
yeah. That's it. But this is the basic premise of Christianity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's interesting.
And people don't think about the fact that they condemn evil sacrifices and uh, totems built to your gods and whatever. Every cross with a picture of Christ on it is a totem to their God,
Yeah,
but they're
it is.
forbidding it. Every person that practices communion is told when they practice that communion, you are drinking the blood and consuming the flesh of your Savior. In ritual magic, that is what is known as representational magic. When you are doing something with the intention of the original purpose, you are doing that original purpose. Congratulations, every Christian out there that has had communion, you have drank blood and consumed the flesh of your
Yeah,
Savior. You're
yeah.
special.
Nice literary. It's like
It's
this. Yeah,
vampirism and cannibalism masqueraded as a
yeah,
celebration.
yeah. It is, and
But
it's
the
so
demons are the
normal.
evil ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it's normal. It's socially acceptable.
Yeah, absolutely. If you say you work with demons, people look at you in a very strange way. While when you drink the flesh and blood of Jesus, it's normal, right?
Yeah, but if you were doing it around a fire ceremony wearing a black garb, it'd be forbidden.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if your priest has a black garb on and there's a candle lit for the censer there,
Yeah.
It's okay because it's in a
It's okay.
church.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
Wow. Yeah.
hypocrisy here.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
and the name demon originally comes from the name daemon, which means spirit.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the name God originally comes from the word Goa, which also means spirit.
Yeah. It's
The
not more than
original name
that.
for God and demon both mean spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. So this should get people thinking, right?
That's the objective. I'm not here to brainwash or program or condition anyone. I'm just
Yeah.
presenting knowledge that I have come across in decades of study, sharing it to others in hopes that at least it will wake them up to question what they've been doing and to realize that good and evil are not absolute.
Yeah. That's beautiful. But why? And I asked you this in the chat. Why did you call your academy Ascension Academy? So where's the ascension part in all of this?
The the ascension comes from within. I think that's a big problem with our society is everyone is looking to the angels or God or Jesus or whatever for ascension. And my understanding is the path to ascension is within. It's not externalized. It's not even externalized as the higher self. The higher self is within us. It is not above us floating in some etheric plane that we can't connect to without the right mushroom dosage.
That's
The higher self is a part of us. It is just buried under layers and layers and layers of programming, conditioning, and beliefs.
yeah. That's why I call it in my energenetics teachings. I don't call it a higher self. I just wanted to take the name away because people have this fixed image in their head. So I call it
Like the
Lux.
angels, exactly.
Yeah, right. So I called it Lux Presence. It's what I call it in my book and also in
Mhm.
my genetics work to connect with your Lux, your light. My deeper work is about Nox. It's which the darkness which makes the light even
Yeah,
possible. But I first wanted to introduce this new reframe in a way of a higher self with the lux presence and your own light, which is that what brings you in your own sovereignty, right?
yeah,
Because if you follow any teacher, including myself or any of the religions, you're always following another light and not your own. So this is why I used another name for that, and to have to focus on a different perspective
yeah.
than
And I
usual.
like the fact that you're using Latin for it and not conventional English language. It's
Yeah,
considered the language of scholars. I use Latin a lot for rituals and ceremonies and things like that. And it's
yeah,
still a powerful language, which is why it is so commonly used in manipulation of the English language.
yeah. It is.
I
Yeah.
mean, we could go on for hours on the manipulation of the English language alone.
So
And no one even looks or thinks about the fact that, as an example, our calendar, September, October, November, and December, Sept, Oct, Nov, Dis, 7, 8, 9, 10. But they're not the 7th through 10th month. Hmm.
okay.
No one thinks about that.
That's interesting.
No
Never
one
heard that.
questions it.
Yeah,
No one questions the fact that January is the first month of the year and the astrology calendar starts in the end of March, beginning of April. No one thinks about that at all.
yeah,
And that's why originally there were 13 months. Each month had 28 days. And it was based on the shades of the moon. The
yeah,
new moon, the last new moon in March or the first one in April, depending on when it fell, was the beginning of the year.
yeah,
We used to live in alignment with that. Then Caesar came in and decided, you know what? January is my birthday. So we're going to
Yeah.
have New Year's in January, so everyone celebrates my birthday. And if you don't fall in line with the laws that I have passed, you will be called a fool. And that's actually where April Fools comes from. April Fools comes because April 1st used to be when the old calendar began, or at least close to it. And Caesar would demonize and condemn all the people, and the Romans would condemn all the people who followed the old ways and call them April Fools.
Oh, interesting. Didn't know that either. Cool. So this is also a way to get us out of our connection to nature and to natural
Completely
rhythms.
living in a false reality and completely disconnected from the planetary forces of the world around us. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
all part of that divine
you are not.
cosmic scale.
Yeah, you're going the other way back, and you're sitting in your cave, right? So you're
Yeah.
closer to Earth and have this connection to
Oh yeah,
nature.
I'm on a plateau at 7,500 feet elevation in Colorado Rockies, and it's
Ah,
surrounded by
okay.
mountains on all sides. I am very blessed to have the life I do.
It's amazing because I'm living in Austria and we also have lots of mountains, but mountains were never my thing. Very untypical. I don't go skiing or or anything like that.
I was
So,
just kind of drawn here. I had the opportunity to get the land, and I'm like, you know what, Colorado sounds nice. Let's go. And I was working as a chef for the last 25 years and was completely burnt out from that.
mm,
And just on a wing and a prayer, literally, I didn't even have a car. I was living in Chicago at the time and didn't have transportation. And I just put a message out to the universe, I need to get to Colorado.
mm,
And had someone that I'd never spoken to before in my life that messaged me and said, hey, we're driving to go get you. And I'm like, okay, sure. They showed up less than 24 hours later. We drove me all the way from Chicago to Colorado
wow,
after they drove from Florida up to Chicago to get me, strictly for the purpose of getting me here, because they were told by God or whatever you want to call it, that they were supposed to deliver me.
wow.
The universe
And
can provide amazing things if we're open to receive it and allowed to believe it.
mm, and when was that? How many years ago?
That was 8 years ago, almost a decade ago.
Okay. Wow, interesting. And another thing I wanted to ask you is, what's your relationship to Abaddon? Because Abaddon is for me, he's always present in my life. You see, it's like the
Abaddon is everything and nothing.
yeah.
Abaddon is the ultimate force of destruction and the beginning of the creation cycle. And everything that is eventually dies. When the end of times comes and the cataclysm happens, or the whatever you want to call it, it's Abaddon who brings forth the plagues and locusts and brings forth the plagues and marks the end of civilization. And my association to Abaddon is he is actually, closest I can think of, is he's actually my guardian angel. He actually is an angel. He's the angel of the abyss. And he chose that role. He wasn't damned or demonized or condemned or anything else. He's still working directly with God as a force of justice, as a force of divine justice. And when Lucifer is locked in his cage for 1,000 years, it's Abaddon who does that, because only
Hmm.
Abaddon is strong enough. If Archangel Michael steps out of line, it's Abaddon who speaks to him and puts him back in place, because only Abaddon is strong enough. And he is. I've worked with a lot of forces. I've worked with primeval gods that we're not even allowed to name. And of everything I've worked with since I've been working directly with Abaddon, the results for the things that I have done have been astronomically fast and extremely effective.
Mm.
Um, Case in point, a couple of months ago, I had a shaman friend of mine that reached out to me because he had a fellow shaman that their fiance drew up a blood contract and bound a demon to them. And don't know what kind of relationship they're in, didn't ask. It's like, okay, pretty sure a divorce paper should be the next anniversary for that one. But went through
Yeah.
the talk, didn't condemn him or judge him or anything on it, and went through my rituals and called forth Abaddon and received a photocopy of a text that was sent to him less than 24 hours later with this person drawing up a blood contract that looked like it was by a terrified 5-year-old. I mean, he looked like he was scared for his life and
Mm.
signed in blood. And I don't mean just a drop on the paper. I mean, the bottom third of the paper was flowing with blood. He wanted to make positive sure that this contract was void and null and void.
Mm.
And that's exactly what he said in the note. He basically said that he drew off all contracts and set them free and had no control over them.
Mm.
And it's like, that's normal for the results that I get since I've been working with Abaddon. I get
Mm.
concrete results within 24 hours without even asking.
Mm. It's stunning. And you're doing this with rituals or
With
trance?
rituals in the astral and etheric planes, in the spirit world, it's a combination of several different things. I have a crystal grid that I have set up here with a Merkaba on it that I use for my primary rituals. And it's basically a portal. There's another portal here as well that's pretty much walking distance from my land. It's a portal to the inner earth, and we'll get there. We'll get there in a minute. And yeah, I live in an interesting place.
No, it's really interesting. So, you don't work with other spirits. So primarily, it's Abaddon who is your go-to guy.
I found something that works, and there's no reason to not be loyal.
Yeah, I understand that. In my own work with demonic forces, mostly for myself, to be honest,
Mhm.
I don't work with demons, with other people, but it's yeah. I could say it's like learning different angles of my own power.
Exactly. It's just
It's
a
like
different perspective.
yeah, yeah, it's a different perspective on getting in touch with my own power, with my own energy, with my own authenticity in a way, and for that it really works great. So
Well, and
yeah,
the thing is, I mean, humans and demons were both cast down for
yeah,
freedom of choice, for rebelling against all powerful God,
yeah,
and for
yeah,
daring to say, hey, you know, I might actually want to choose something.
yeah. Or, or I want to do something different.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, history is written by the victors.
yeah,
It's almost every historical book, whether it's a news story broadcast or ancient scriptures or whatever. It's influenced by the writings of man. It's influenced by the words of man, the beliefs and the thoughts of man. When I was in high school, I had a German exchange student there when we were in my history class when we were studying World War II. And Germany's perspective on World War II completely different than ours.
yeah.
They,
I'm not
they,
sure. I'm
they,
Austrian, so
I mean, the Americans demonized Hitler in the media, but then they captured him. And the CIA had become a USA informant and a CIA spy in Argentina until he lived into his 90s. But that's not really common knowledge. You're not really supposed to talk about
No,
that.
this
Even
conspiracy.
though it's in a public disclosure document, it's not conspiracy theory. It's actually government documents that admit that that happened. They admit that Hitler died when he was 93 years old in Argentina and was working for the CIA until that time,
Okay.
which wasn't that long ago.
Right. Mm.
And I kind of think the same thing happened with Saddam Hussein because there's no body, people. Anytime you bury someone at sea and there's no body, I call bullshit.
Well, what would you do with Saddam Hussein?
The deal with Saddam Hussein was there were ancient relics that were found in Iraq because of the Sumerian Empire, and add to that the prevalence of the opium poppies and everything like that, that interestingly enough have become basically our go-to for the pharmaceutical industry since that time. Um, Not that the pharmaceutical and medical industry would be in bed with the government or anything, or the military or anything like that. I mean, that'd be corrupt. We
Never would
wouldn't
do
have
that.
anything like that. I see we have a few people that have joined us here. Thank you for all of us here. If anyone has
Cool.
any questions, please type. I can see your typing on the bottom, or even just a thumbs up comment or whatever to what we're talking about. We're pretty much just freestyling this. Um, I mentioned the portal, and that refers to 5 years ago. I was about 2.5 years on the land here. It was unseasonably warm December evening, and I had two friends of mine that were here visiting me, camping for the night. We were outside and saw three very, very large figures moving towards us, and proceeded to shine our flashlight because we're like, whatever. They obviously know we're already here. If they were intending to be harmful, they'd be moving a lot faster than they are. And at the size they are, if they're not kind, there's nothing we can do anyway. And the Hopis called them the ant people. But the interesting thing is, the Hopi language, the name for ant friends is Anunnaki.
Hmm.
Interesting coincidence. And these three giant beings between 8 and 12 feet tall looked like they were carved out of chiseled obsidian, somewhere between a humanoid praying mantis hybrid, and proceeded to take us into Agartha or Inner Earth and have conference with us for about 4 hours. It seemed like a lot longer there because they kind of live in a different time frame, and it was all telepathic communication. It wasn't verbal communication. It was all telepathic. My two friends that were with me remembered going there, and they remembered waking up in the cabin, but they remembered nothing in between. But I have confirmation, at least from them, that the beings did arrive and were real, physical, tangible beings, not just light beings that are coming down from Zip Zap Zork in the spaceship. Although we do see plenty of UFOs around here as well, because I'm on the 23rd parallel, which is known as the UFO superhighway. It is the latitude line that has the most UFO activity on the globe. And interestingly enough, that's also where the portal to Inner Earth is and where my home is.
Ah, that's interesting. Tell me more. I have no idea about inner Earth. I have no relationship to this concept at all. I don't even know why. What's the purpose of what you call inner Earth? Well,
From my understanding, the inner Earth was inhabited before the outer surface. They terraformed the inner surface because it had a more stable temperature and because of the fact winds, things like that. If you don't have a gravity force created yet and don't have a ozone field or whatever that protects you from radioactive storms of space or who knows what else, the inner surface is protected. And from my understanding, Mars and probably several other planets are inhabited, but they're inhabited on the inner surface, not on the outer surface. And that's why our probes do not discover things. They'll see remnants of pyramids or things that are coming up from the ground, but they don't think enough to actually do excavation. And it's at a deep enough level that conventional excavation techniques would not work.
but in this concept, is this a physical realm, or is this
It is a physical reality, yes. It is similar to ours, but different in a lot of ways. The inner Earth has a lot less gravity than ours does. It's still enough that you can walk around and whatever, but because of the lesser force of gravity, you have things grow to a lot larger size. Plants, trees, flowers, insects all get to be much larger than on the surface. Um, there are theories in the alchemical texts and whatever of the black sun and whatever else, and that is a reference to the energy force that exists within the inner of the earth. If you think about the earth as a globe, like a tennis ball, for example, you've got the outer surface of the tennis ball, but you also have the inner surface. And the inner earth would be the inner surface of the tennis ball.
okay? So it's upside down.
Yes, but we don't have a reference point to up and down. We only have a reference
Mm.
point to it. We're not interacting with one and the other at the same time. So it's upside down to us, we're upside down to them.
Okay, that's interesting. I've never heard about that before. I mean, I heard this concept. So and uh what do you do with that? Or
Well,
what
they're
is the
the
meaning of that?
from my understanding, the beings that are in the inner earth are primarily the ancient beings that terraformed this planet and created humanity, for lack of a better way to put it. They are also some of the ascended beings when the cataclysm happened that the Hopis talk about when they met the ant people. Their tribal leaders were brought forth to the earth and still live there, from my understanding. And you age differently there as well. You age much slower there, and oddly enough, only theory I have is because of my connection to the abyss and things like that. I also tend to age much slower. Um, I have friends that have visited me recently and have been visiting me off and on for the last decade, and they're like, "How the hell do you live in the desert with no moisture in the worst environment there is?" And I swear you look 10 years younger every time I see
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, how do you know that? How did you get this knowledge about this inners?
From meeting with the ant people and going there.
Ah, okay,
I was
okay.
brought there. I'm basically serving the role of being a emissary for the inner earth beings, and I meet with the ant people on a weekly basis pretty much. and communicate what's going on the surface so that they don't have to be on the surface where, let's face it, if our government or something saw something that looked like an 8 to 12 foot tall praying mantis human hybrid, they'd have this SWAT team and military out here with nuclear weapons. I mean, let's be real. That's what they would do. They live in a fear based reality and they demonize and destroy anything they cannot understand.
Okay, and you do all that without mushrooms and
Without
psychedelics.
mushrooms, completely stone cold sober. No mushrooms, no alcohol, no marijuana, no substances of any kind. When I had that journey with the ant people and had witnesses here that met them physically, I was stone cold sober, not even sleep deprivation,
Okay.
in a fully wakened state.
Okay, and also not in ritual, so you don't have to prepare
No,
for.
it was just random. That was completely a random situation. I was out there having a bonfire with them, just talking.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Just the
That's good.
sacredness that is life.
Okay, well, don't know what to do with that, but
I
it's for sure interesting.
think it kind of just opens the doorway for the possibilities of how much is going on in this world when you're ready.
Yeah, yeah.
And move past fear, because beings like that are obviously evolved enough that they can sense fear and they don't approach things that would be fearful.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's one of the main points of when you're into angels and all this stuff. You're basically afraid of anything that's not of the light, and it's a fear-based teaching. So of course, if you lose that fear of the darkness, you there is not much you have to fear at all.
You're no longer a slave. That's not
Mm.
serving them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Okay. Wow. So are there any questions now from the audience, or are we are we good?
I think we're fairly good. I think that went well, considering we had no script or anything to follow and no idea at
Absolutely.
all what we were going to talk about.
Absolutely. And just wanted to know what you're all about and what you're into, and it's really
Well, and I'm
interesting.
sure several people that are watching do as well. I'm pretty open about my beliefs and viewpoints, but it's easy to get lost in the traffic.
Yeah.
And a video platform, it's much easier to see someone and tangibly understand who and what they are. It's not,
Yeah. I mean, I'm more into writing. You see,
yeah.
it's my way to express my thoughts more easily than in a life situation, because my
Mhm.
own energetic processing and all this stuff, it's happening much faster than I got words, and when I can write.
I do a
Uh,
lot of writing too, and most of my writing is pretty much stream of consciousness. I'm writing as fast as the pen can write, and the words are flowing in the direction they're intended to. It's like I never do edits, I never do spell check, I never do rewrites. What you see is what you get, and that's what was brought forth. I see myself more as the scribe than the creator. I'm
yeah,
transmitting knowledge being shared to me by someone else.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. I like that. Okay. So, really went well. It was very interesting.
It
I
was. It
learned
was a pleasure
lots.
to talk to you.
Absolutely. Let's see. what happens next in our conversation.
I'm open to doing this on a weekly basis. I would prefer to have a random guest like we did this time and help to build traffic for other people in the process. So if you're watching this on a live or a rebroadcast and interested in being a guest, please reach out to me, message me on this platform. And if nothing else, just say hello. Always great to share other ideas and explore other perspectives.
Beautiful. I loved it.
Take care, everyone.
Cool. Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure and an honor. Until next
Absolutely.
time.
Bye bye.